Medieval attitudes toward homosexuality, sin, taboo, or secretly accepted. Close your eyes and imagine a medieval cathedral at dawn. The bells toll, monks chant in Latin, and the smell of incense lingers in the air. The world around you is framed by God, sin, and salvation. To be different in thought, desire, or body could mean whispers in the market square, a trial before the Inquisition, or worse, a pyre crackling in the town square. But here's the twist. Despite the Church's fire and brimstone condemnations, medieval Europe was not as black and white as we often think. Same-sex love existed. It thrived in hidden corners, whispered in poetry, painted on chapel walls, and even found among knights sworn to chastity. Was it sin, a taboo, or quietly accepted in ways history rarely admits? Let's peel back the layers and uncover true stories you'll never read in a school book. Before we dive in, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more shocking and bizarre stories from history. Ancient roots, medieval shadows. To understand the medieval mindset, we must first glance backward. In ancient Greece, relationships between men, often between older mentors and younger companions, were not just tolerated but idealized as a higher form of love. Rome, too, permitted such liaisons, though with a strict social hierarchy. The citizen must never be the submissive partner. When Christianity spread, the old ways collided with a faith that saw reproduction as the only righteous purpose of sex. The biblical story of Sodom became the banner of condemnation. By the 4th century, emperors like Theodosius outlawed homosexual acts, branding them against nature. This inheritance set the stage for medieval Europe. But here's where the contradictions begin. Knights, monks, and forbidden bonds. In the 11th and 12th centuries, monasteries swelled across Europe. Behind cloister walls, men lived together in brotherhood, praying, eating, sleeping, and confessing side by side. Desire was inevitable. In the monastery of St. Peter in Cluny, chronicles whisper of monks accused of sin against nature. Punishments varied. Some were exiled, others were made to fast endlessly, and a few were simply ignored. Why? Because the bonds between monks could also strengthen loyalty, discipline, and devotion. Knighthood, too, carried its paradox. Take the Order of the Knights Templar, warrior monks sworn to celibacy. Yet medieval accusations against them included not just heresy, but secret initiation rituals where men allegedly kissed each other on the mouth, the navel, even the base of the spine. Were these real acts of intimacy or political slanders used to justify their destruction by King Philip IV of France in 1307? Historians remain divided. But one thing is certain. Same-sex accusations were powerful weapons in medieval power games. Courtly love and hidden desire. Now imagine the courts of 12th century France, where troubadours sang of romance and desire. Among these poetic verses, you'll find coded hints of love not just between knight and lady, but between men. One example is Richard the Lionheart, the English king who crusaded in the Holy Land. Chroniclers describe his intense bond with Philip II of France. In fact, some records note that they ate at the same table and slept in the same bed. Was this mere political alliance or something more? Modern historians argue endlessly. Yet in the medieval world, sharing a bed did not always carry the same meaning it does today, though Richard's repeated confessions of sins of the flesh raise intriguing questions. And then there's the poetry of Hedwig of Brabant, a 13th century mystic who wrote of overwhelming love for women cloaked in spiritual language. Her words blur the lines between divine longing and earthly passion, making one wonder how much of medieval mysticism was also a cover for forbidden feelings. Trials, punishments, and the public eye. Make no mistake, homosexuality was criminalized. The Council of Nablus in 1120 decreed that sodomy was punishable by burning. In 13th century England, laws explicitly condemned same-sex acts as felonies. but the way trials played out is telling. Take the case of John Rykener, a male prostitute in 14th century London who dressed as a woman under the name Eleanor. He was caught with both men and women, including priests and nuns. His court record survived, and instead of immediate execution, he was interrogated with fascination. The scandal wasn't just about sex, but about gender, disguise, and the blurred lines of medieval identity. His survival, unlike many accused sodomites, suggests society's views were more complex than rigid law books suggest. Quiet tolerance and double standards. While commoners faced harsh punishments, elites often lived by different rules. Take the court of Edward II of England, notorious for his close bond with Piers Gaveston, a handsome knight. Chroniclers called Gaveston the king's favorite, showered with gifts and titles. Their relationship caused such outrage among nobles that Gaveston was eventually executed, not officially for love, but for corrupting the king. Here lies the medieval contradiction. It wasn't always the love itself that caused fury, but the power it represented. Same-sex desire was tolerated in shadows, celebrated in poetry, but dangerous when it threatened authority. The cloak of religion and mysticism. Perhaps the most fascinating survival of same-sex love is found in religious language. Medieval mystics like Saint Elward of Rievaulx openly praised spiritual friendship between men. In his writings, the boundary between spiritual union and romantic love almost disappears. Elward described his companions with tenderness that today reads unmistakably intimate. The Church, too, often looked the other way when expressions of same-sex love were framed as brotherhood in Christ. This cloak of sanctity allowed deep bonds to flourish under the radar, protected by the very institution that condemned them. Conclusion: not just sin, not just taboo. So was homosexuality in medieval Europe a sin, a taboo, or secretly accepted? The truth is all three. The Church thundered against it, branding it unnatural and punishable by death. The courts enforced laws selectively, often swayed by politics more than piety. Yet in monasteries, courts, and private chambers, same-sex love persisted, sometimes celebrated in poetry, sometimes whispered in scandal, sometimes cloaked in religion. The medieval world, far from being a monolith of intolerance, was a place of contradictions, where forbidden love found cracks to survive. And perhaps the greatest irony of all, while medieval society condemned the body, it left behind records, poems, and confessions that reveal the undeniable humanity of those who dared to love differently. So next time you picture the Middle Ages as a world of rigid morality, remember Richard and Philip sharing a bed, John Rykener confessing in court, or Elward writing of his beloved companions. In the shadows of cathedrals and castles, love, in all its forms, never stopped finding a way. If you enjoyed this deep dive into ancient scandal, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring the notification bell so you never miss another story from the strange and shocking side of history.